Hello and welcome to yet another video on the Swale Trail. It's based in the north of the Yorkshire Dales, and what I'm going to do is just put this list of good bits and maybe some of the challenges there, and I'd stop the video, have a little read, and then you can move on from there. But it does take a little while to get to if you're going via Richmond or coming in from the west, so just allow a bit of time for that, and it is a full day's ride. So we're going to start at the Dales Bike Centre down between Reeth and Grinton really, and go and pick up their website and hire a bike from them if you can't bring your own. They've got electric bikes, they've got everything. They're a great centre, plus spares and coffee and toilet. We're going to begin there, then we come out through Grinton, take a steep climb, and then follow our way along through the lower parts, and it's really quite beautiful until we get to Gunnerside. Then at Gunnerside there's more cafe and toilet so you can stop, and then beyond that is when it gets a bit more bleak and we start heading up the hill towards Keld. Now we do have a return journey as well, which we'll do as a separate video, which is shown here, but what I really want you to do is to focus on having a great time on this ride. So here we are starting at the Dales Bike Centre, and I've shown you on the left there the route that we're going to take out. We've got lots of things to do here. We just follow along, go over the bridge in towards Grinton, and now we're going to start heading up the hill. Now the Swale Trail is well marked, and you'll see that it's a mixture of paths, gravel and road. This first section there's a lot of gates, and we keep meeting gates really until we're quite a long way through. So along here, and then really heading down towards the water. This is one of the bigger gates, and this leads across some fields and takes us very near to the start. So you can see here we go, have to go across a sheep field. In the winter this can be really wet, but then we suddenly get to this path here that's reasonably well made up, and in places is quite smooth, but there's a lot of gravel there. More gates, work our way through. Now at this point we have to push up. You can ride it on a solo bike, but on a tandem it's almost impossible. But the views from the top here are absolutely spectacular, and they're classic Swale Dale views. So we're just going to finish off this section, which is really quite gravelly and gnarly, and in places can be a bit steep, but push through the gates, and this bit it just wasn't worth. Then we get onto the road, and this one's fairly level. This is Swale Hall Lane, and we're going to make sure that when we get to those houses that we took the right hand fork. We're following along Low Lane, and Low Lane is really pretty, wonderful views to the right you can see there of the valley below, but it is quite gnarly in places, and it goes downhill other times. When I say downhill I mean it gets worse. So this is called Dubbing Garth Lane, and it starts absolutely fantastic here, and then at these little houses it suddenly becomes gravel, and the gravel gradually gets tougher and tougher to ride on, gets really gnarly, it builds up in the corners and can be a bit gravelly. Now if you've got decent tyres on, you shouldn't have any trouble with it, but just be warned. And then it improves this last little bit as we start heading towards the gate that's at the end. We're going to work our way up this little bit, and then we'll very soon make it to the road. So we go through this gate, and you can see Gunnerside down there at the bottom of the valley, and we're now going to scream down at high speed right into the village of Gunnerside. So this is very, very fast descent into Gunnerside, and then we turn left, and now we have got over a mile of climbing. Not particularly steep, but it can feel that way. We just keep going up and up and up. The road surface though is excellent, so it's not really that tough, and if you're on a solo bike you should be able to manage. It's just a bit tough when you're on a tandem. So we go up, make sure you don't sort of turn off left. There's a couple of places where there are roads that vanish off, and it would be very tempted to take those, but they travel at such a pace that you might get stuck. So we're working our way up, a couple of tight bends, and you can see a couple of dog legs in the route, and you continue to climb higher and higher as we work our way up towards the top. Then it starts to level out, and then as we come round the big hill we can then start to descend, and at this point we're fairly level, and then we're going to drop down back and rejoin the river, and it goes very fast. Do be careful because you could get out of hand down on here. And then you reach the floodplain at the bottom, and we stopped and had a bite to eat. Then got back on, and you follow along this path, and at one point you have to cross a ford, so that's what we're heading towards now. So it's fairly level now, but then it suddenly shoots up there. You can see that craggy bit that's coming up ahead, and at that point then, as we slowly rise up, we've got to get across this little, either a bridge or a ford. So just along this bit now, you can go very fast down here. Watch out, because as you descend it is brutally tough. So I pushed across the ford, and then when you get to the other side it's almost immediately straight up, and because it's a tandem I decided to just push it that bit. I did a little bit of riding, but too tricky. Through a few more gates, and we've now got the final ascent really up towards Keld. This bit I was able to manage fairly easily, but again then we get another bit that sort of keeps throwing you off because it's so steep. We lose the traction on the back wheel. So push our way up to the top here, and once we reach the top, across all this gravel and stuff, that we can then descend at quite a pace down towards Kisden Force. So views are pretty good from up here, and you can see Keld in the distance. Every now and then it'll arrive, but we're going to drop down towards the waterfalls that is Kisden Force, and you can see there that's a tourist attraction. People come from all over the place. Push up this incredibly steep bit of road here. It really takes all your strength, and then it's a level ride into the village of Keld. There's a help yourself tea shop there with toilets, and there's a little rural museum. We stopped in the bench outside the museum and had a cup of tea and a piece of flapjack, which is mandatory, and you can see how steep the village is. Lots of people camping there. A really good ride, so please like and subscribe to the channel down below. But here's a summary of the route, and we hope you enjoy your ride in the future. Bye for now.